I recently decided to take my high mileage E46 M3 to the dyno. I was super curious to see how much power the car has lost over the last 20 years. To my surprise, the car performed very well and made around the same power if the car would have been new. But it wasn't all good news. I decided to cut the dyno day short. The M3 was producing a significant amount of bluish smoke from the exhaust. It would happen during deceleration after just reaching 8,000 RPM. After the second run, it got worse. It was hard not to think the absolute worst. Was my engine on its last leg? Well, today I was determined to find out. So here's the scoop. What we're going to try to do today is replicate what happened at the dyno, but since we don't have access to a dyno today, we're going to do it differently. We'll take the M3 out for a drive, get it up to red line, preferably in 3rd and 4th gear, decelerate, and see if we can get the same exact outcome. And then when we come back, we'll see if we can go ahead and resolve the issue. I do have a few ideas in mind, and we'll talk about that once we come back. While we wait for the engine to properly warm up, I do want to address some comments and some concerns from the M3 dyno video. In the dyno video, I jokingly talked about the piston rings probably being toast, which explained the smoke. I was jokingly just randomly throwing that out there. I don't think that's the case. Typically with really bad piston rings, you'll get smoke even when the car is idling, which is not the case right now. I mean, maybe if they're not that worn, it could be the issue, but I really doubt it. There was also a bunch of comments talking about possible bad valve stem seals. I don't think that's the issue either. A lot of the times when you do have that bad, first of all, it's not even like a common problem on these cars, but when they are bad, the car smokes when you first start it up, and after like a few minutes it goes away. What I'll first do is I'll rev it here stationary without any load and see if we can get it to smoke, and then we'll take it for a drive. Alright, so I really couldn't replicate it by just revving the car. We're gonna have to just do a pull. I'll redline it, preferably in 3rd gear, since I don't want to utilize 4th gear because it'll go to like 140, 135 miles per hour, which is not too safe, and we're not in Mexico today. So we'll do 3rd gear and see what's up. We are monitoring the GoPro with my cell phone here, so we get to see live data. So I know exactly what's happening. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Yep, we can see some smoke. We can see some smoke. So I'm back. I wanted to give the car some time so it can properly cool down before I start working on it. So just like the dyno day, we get the engine up to almost red line, high RPM, then you let off, and then you see smoke coming out of the exhaust. Originally I thought PCV system or oil separator system, crankcase ventilation system, whatever you want to call it, or release pressure this way in the form of oil vapor, also known as blow-by, gets recirculated into the intake manifolds, gets burned off, and if you have a lot of that, you'll see smoke coming from the back. And believe it or not, NA engines like the S54 can also produce blow-by. The truth is that this is a high mileage engine. It has 173,000 miles. It could just be tired and worn with all the excessive abuse it's received in the last 21 years. Hopefully that's not the case though. We'll do a compression test today. My buddy Ali's on the way to the shop, so we can see how healthy this engine is with 173,000 miles. And then maybe we'll add a catch can just to see if that resolves the smoking issue from the exhaust. Just because I'm extremely curious, I'm going to go ahead and remove the intake manifold. I want to see if there's an excessive amount of blow-by that's just kind of trapped in this area. I actually decided not to take off the intake manifold. I remembered how much of a pain it was to put back on, so I decided to skip that step. I took the cowl, the strut tower brace, and the engine beauty cover off to give myself more space. Under the beauty cover, you'll see this unit, which is responsible for releasing pressure from the crankcase and separating oil vapor and circling it back into the intake system. Alright, so I went ahead and took off the PCV system. Interesting observation. This doesn't look like an old piece. Looks like it's been replaced not too long ago. A lot of the times you get these to look discolored if they're old. This actually looks like it's in pretty good shape, which has me a little bit worried. It is pretty nasty though. A lot of a lot of gunk and buildup, and I'm not sure if it's working properly. This is like the separator part right here. We'll see. Here's a ventilation tube, which is pretty nasty as well. Essentially the oil vapor, the blow-by, gets funneled over here to the intake manifold, and you see how disgusting it is. This could be the reason for the smoke, guys. You know, you get up to like super high RPMs, like 8,000. That temperature on the engine is super hot, and maybe it's hot enough for it to burn all this oil. And that's why we see the smoke in the back. Yo, look who showed up.
On the State Roofing showed up.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove the oil filter just to see if we can see some shiny elements in there. I figured we can save some time by just looking at that and not having to do anything else if we find something. So we'll see.
Dun, dun, dun.
Super suspenseful.
Yes.
We're not finding metal in here, by the way.
Good news if there is. Built motor.
Ta-da!
I don't see anything.
I think this car is due for an oil change, bro.
Enlighten us why you were, you know, slacking on making content on that.
We're gonna work on this after this video's done. We're gonna work on an E30.
Yeah, he keeps saying that, so we're gonna go ahead and go with that one right now.
Yeah, we're gonna work on an E30. As soon as this video goes live, I'm gonna work on an E30, get the S52 on there, and get it to run. Hold me to it. Hold me to it.
Yes.
Yes.
Just like I wanted to see how much power my M3 made after years of wear, I was curious to see how healthy the engine was. One way of finding that out is by doing a compression test. If your engine can't compress air and fuel properly, the engine cannot make the power needed from normal operation. With our test here, we were looking for significant variations between all cylinders. Tester goes into the place of the spark plug and we crank the engine.
Okay. 155. Wow. Alright. Around 160. $160. 60. $155. $320. Nah. It's 155. Well, that is some exciting and good news. 155, 155, 153, 160, 160. Forgot the other one, but there's no extreme variation between cylinders, so we're in the green, boys. I also was able to pull up some OEM compression numbers when the car was new, and it's anywhere between 170 and 180. So for a lot of these being 155 and 160, that is not bad for an engine that has 173,000 miles and a car that has, what, 21 years of age. That is actually very, very good. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is put everything back together for now. We don't have the necessary things to put the oil catch can on, so we'll come back tomorrow and finish off the job. And we are back. It is another day. About to install a catch can. Let me show you guys what we have. So we essentially have two choices here. This is a smaller one by a company called Radium. This is very bougie-like. It even has a little dipstick so you can measure the blow-by that's captured in here, so you know when it's time to dump it. And then we have this extremely big one here. Probably the one we're probably gonna use on the E46 Pro Sport. Has like a ventilation filter in the top, and it's completely sealed, unlike a lot of catch cans, even the one I put on the N54 where you can actually unscrew it and open it. This one doesn't work that way. It's welded shut, and then you have a knob at the bottom where you can release all the buildup right here. The benefits of having something this big versus something this small, I guess, is just you don't really have to worry about it. You know, this is probably gonna catch blow-by for like the next 20 years. If the car lasts that long.
Making room for the massive catch can was not an easy task. The left top corner of the engine seemed ideal, but the ABS system with a bottom bracket was in the way. We cut one side of the bracket off, which cleared just enough room to fit the catch can perfectly in there. For the sake of the video, I wanted to install it just to show the results, but wasn't sure if I wanted to run this catch can long term. So instead of mounting it to the back of the metal surface, we used zip ties instead. And it didn't look too bad.
There you have it, guys, installed. From this distance, 5 feet away, it looks perfect. Placement is perfect. Nothing wrong with it. Let's get a little bit closer. Jerry rig. So we zip tied the top, zip tied the middle, bottom section as well. it's pretty tight on there. This is a temporary setup because I'm not sure if I'm gonna continue to use this catch can, and I also didn't want to drill into the back of the car or chop up anything else in here. The ABS system here is occupying a lot of the space, so maybe I'll keep it, but once I figure out a cleaner way to install this. But for now, like I said, for video purposes, I want to make sure I have it installed properly so it doesn't dangle around, so when I do drive the car. But yeah, anyways, we'll move on to attaching the hoses to the catch can itself and then routing it over to the engine.
Shoving the hose in there?
Damn, that works, bro.
And it's a perfect size.
So
Dash
we're
10
going to use the factory connectors to attach the hose, and that's it.
Dash 10 line, dog.
So look at that, plug and play. So we use the OEM plastic connector to this hose, and it works fine. I've seen some other dedicated kits that replaces this all entirely for like the metal ones, but this works for now. Perfect fit, bro. Oh, that sound is killing my teeth. There you have it, guys. Everything's good. Put the cowl back in there, attach this to it. The hose is gonna sit right here. The rubber piece, I just attached it right here. Fits nicely in that little groove. It was almost like it was meant for this setup. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Looks pretty clean. Doesn't look bad at all. Do gotta clean up the engine bay whenever I get a chance, but yeah, I like it. All right, so now we're just gonna go turn on the car, make sure everything's a-okay, and then we'll take it for a drive and see if it smokes.
It was time to take her for a drive, and just like last time, monitor the live GoPro feed with my phone. I figured I'd do 2 runs. The first run should burn off any buildup that still exists from the previous setup, and the second run should be clean, or at least cleaner. And I was pretty correct. First run still had smoke, and the second one barely produced any. Alright, the conclusion. The engine seems pretty healthy to me. It made pretty good power at the dyno, and the compression test was pretty reassuring. As far as the oil catch can, the M3 definitely benefited from one. It's able to trap a lot of the blow-by before it gets to the intake system, which results in less smoke coming out of the exhaust. If you enjoyed the video or find it informative, do me one solid, like the video. Make sure to subscribe for more M3 videos, and as always, thanks for watching. Till next time.